Lady Gaga's Avant-Garde Fashion Compared with Music by Farah, Martin, and Catherine. What is avant-garde? As discussed in Music 102, avant-garde is art that radically redefines the parameters of what art is and advocates radical social changes. It is a reaction from the horrors of World War II. The comparisons we'll be looking at today are the alien shoes that Lady Gaga wore in her Bad Romance video and Every Alley, the orbit dress she wore and Gesang de Julinge, and the meat dress and Eroica. The alien shoes were worn in Lady Gaga's Bad Romance video. They were designed by Alexander McQueen and were from his couture collection inspired by Plato's Atlantis. He drew his inspiration from sea creatures and aliens. Now couture, in contrast to prêt-à-porter fashion, is not functional. As seen in the image here, the shoes have an interesting alien-like architecture and do not seem functional. The piece in comparison to the alien shoes is Every Alley by Yannis Xenakis. Xenakis was an architect and composer and drew much of his inspiration from Greek mythology. He also wrote his music in a non-traditional way, and his music was considered stochastic music because it was mathematically derived. He was not comfortable with using traditional ways of writing music, so he wrote his own. Now, he uses different textures to guide his music. How do the alien shoes and Every Alley compare? Both were non-conforming designs. Xenakis made up his own way of writing music. As seen in Music 102's lectures, the music composition has an interesting architecture. In comparison, McQueen designed his shoes in a very different way as well. His shoes have a very interesting architectural design. They are 12 inches high and have a rounded edge, giving it a strange alien-like look. Lady Gaga's orbit dress is the next piece we will compare. Gaga creates her own pieces from her own design studio called House of Gaga. Her designs are always very outlandish and follow themes. In this specific dress, the theme is galaxies. And you see here there are sparkles and circular designs to represent orbiting planets and stars. The piece in comparison is Gesang du Jüngling by Karl-Heinz Stockhausen. The piece sounds very futuristic with theological white noise, pure tones, and children's voices. The children are reciting a biblical excerpt, hence the translated title, Sound of the Youths. Stockhausen studied phonetics, hence the interesting layering of sounds in this piece. The piece has 6 structures separated by their durations in the piece, and the piece was also written in a non-traditional way with layers of sounds as opposed to traditional notes. How does the orbit dress and Gesang de Jüngling compare? Without knowing the translation of Gesang de Jüngling, the piece sounds like something from outer space. Going with the theme of outer space, the dress also matches this since it represents the galaxy. Now, as seen in the composition up here below in the slide, both pieces play with different textures to create something unique and foreign-looking or sounding. Gesang de Jüngling has layers of sounds. In this dress, she has different layers, creating different rings, representing different galaxies or different orbits from different planets. The last piece to compare is Lady Gaga's infamous meat dress. Now, Gaga has been known as a sex symbol for provocative performances through her fashion, lyrics, and dance. There are many interpretations of this specific dress, but Gaga stated the dress symbolizes that she did not want to be seen as a piece of meat, i.e. objectified. The piece to be compared to the meat dress is called Eroica by Peter Schaeffer. Now, by listening to this piece, you can hear different sounds, like a woman's voice and panting. Unfortunately, we were unable to come across more research on this specific piece, but by listening to the piece itself, it sounds very provocative and quite sexual. How do the meat dress and Eroica compare? Both pieces are quite provocative and can be seen as inappropriate, and both express sexual themes. Gaga's dress is a metaphor to represent how women are objectified as meat or game. In comparison, Eroica explores provocative sounds, but it does not really prove any point. But both pieces would be considered outlandish and strange, making them both very avant-garde. In conclusion, Lady Gaga is known for her love of artistic expression through her fashion. Though her music is mainstream, her fashion choices are very avant-garde. They usually represent a radical message, and she uses tons of experimentation with different textures and styles. She takes objects that we see every day and concepts that we're familiar with and adds a new perspective. In comparison, the avant-garde music chosen also does this. This is especially seen in the way the music is composed, and the way the music is heard with the new, interesting textures. The composers also use new, innovative ways of creating sound with different technology.